Job for today is changing the batteries on the Magic Extreme X8. They've not been lasting terribly long, and we're loath to go further afield on it at the minute, so we bought some new batteries and we're now going to attempt to change them. John's come up with a plan, because John doesn't like anyone doing jobs for him. Not because he's tight, but because he's always done jobs himself. So now he's disabled, he struggles with letting others do the job for him. So he's been pondering over it. We've got a lift, so that's going to go in so as we can jack it up, hopefully. We've not tried it yet, and he can sort of sit in his perching stool and try and undo all the fasteners and everything.
Can't bend or kneel, you see.
Because he can't kneel, he can't bend, he can't stand for long.
Use my hands on the spanner.
Yeah, he can use his hands on the spanners as long as there's not too much pressure involved, because then it mucks his shoulders up. So yeah, we'll check in later. We've got the stand in and you can see we've jacked it. It's not the right stand. The stand we actually ordered had got a hexagon on here, so I could have just put the impact gun on and whizzed it up, but which would have been better, because I've got to make sure we've got enough room to move this between the two tyres.
Quite as far as we wanted.
Yeah, so
it's a bit wobbly, but that isn't actually wobbly on the stand.
I think it's the actual stand.
That's actually the stand flexing.
So that's how we've got it.
Which is odd, because that stand's meant to take 450 kilos.
It's actually on the battery box, if you can see, which is like really strong.
I mean, ideally it could have come this way a bit more, but you want to be able to wind the handle on the thingy bob, you see. So that's let us down slightly, because the stand hasn't got a hexagon.
Yeah, we wanted it central on the battery box, but you can see it just isn't.
But it doesn't try and rock sideways, which tells me that it isn't going to be. I mean, I can't make it tip left.
No.
Which means it wouldn't be any different.
But it's just that bit higher for you to not have to.
Yeah, I should be able to. I can get to the fasteners now, you see. So I mean,
it will go higher, won't it?
Oh yeah.
Do you want it any higher?
I think might have it another little bit higher. We might take it a little bit higher. Yeah.
Right, this has got indicators on, so we've got
indicators and lights.
Yeah, I've just disconnected that
because
connector.
The seat's got to be lifted off, because the batteries are underneath the plastics. You've got to disconnect anything that's connecting the seat to the other parts of the chair underneath. Like, you see what I mean? Like you've got the controller lead there. That's called the canvas lead, and that needs pulling out of this unit here, you see, and that goes down to the power module that's mounted there. But we don't need to touch that, because we're going to be leaving everything attached to the seat, disconnecting the seat on its main fasteners here. On there, there's two at the front and two at the back. The back ones are easy to get to. The front ones are hidden slightly behind a metal cross member, and luckily I've got an Allen key. That's a standard length of Allen key. Well, that won't go in. You can't. It's too high to manage to go in, and you can't get a ratchet in. You can't get anything in like that with a bit or anything like that. You know. So luckily I'd got one of them that was ground down, because I used it on motorcycle carburetors, intake stubs and things like that, because I used to. I've had hundreds, thousands of motorbikes over the years, so that was cut down ready, so I can use that on the front ones and this one on the back ones to make it easy, you see. But we're not quite ready for that, because we've got to disconnect this other indicator here and this controller lead, and then we should be able to take the fasteners off the seat, and it's loose then and then Wendy lift the seat off onto the table.
We've disconnected the indicators and the controller lead out of the
that module there.
That module, and now John's undoing the brackets for the seat.
I put some gloves on because my hands are a bit cold, and I thought they might be a bit grippy because they've got rubber on, but they don't seem that blooming good actually. So I'm hoping I don't drop anything. Now the strange thing is, none of the fasteners on this chair seem to have washers, or no plain washers and no spring washers, which strikes me as being a bit crazy, really, because that means with vibration and going off-road and whatever, there's no thread locking compound on it, otherwise I wouldn't be able to undo that like that. You see? But there's no washer, there's no spring washer to stop it from coming undone or anything, which is a bit odd, but...
Yeah, but it's not like an off-road blooming quad, is it?
Well, I'm only saying it would have been good practice for them to have, or even, instead of using bolts like that, which, to be honest, they're rubbish.
So are you listening then, Magic Mobility?
They should be using a flanged head, zinc plated fastener, really, because that'll just go rusty and corrode. That's just it's dipped in oil or something. It's just like, you know,
this is your engineering background.
Yeah,
pedantic, I mean, coming to the fore.
Yeah, but all of the fasteners, if you notice, look, that one that holds this fastening attachment point there, that one there, that's exactly the same. They're all exactly the same. They all use these type here. Well, to be honest, I actually think, unless they're special...
Shall we just get on with the job in hand?
Well, I will say one thing. They have used 12.9 tensile strength, which is higher than 8.8, which would be your usual ones. So they are actually, they're better fasteners, but they haven't got any anti-corrosion plating on them or anything, you see, which is a bit bad, but never mind. Anyway, right, we'll do some more.
Seat is now off with the indicators still attached. All we did was disconnect the indicator wires and the wire from here that goes down to the power bank, and there it is without the seat. The batteries are underneath here, so we've now got to get the plastics off. The only little thing I'm worried about is when we put the seat back on, they've got to line up, because there's like a piece of metal sticking out. They're loose. Taking the plastics off now, and there's 3 fasteners and they're underneath.
Yeah, you just pop them off with a little screwdriver like that, and you just get it at the side and then just flick them. I'll show you in a minute on the front one. This is quite stiff, this one, eh?
And then the screws are underneath.
Why is this so stiff? That went with a pop.
This is the Magic Extreme stripped down then to expose the batteries.
You can see the drive motors on the front. You can see the way the front axle swings about like that and how it all turns and everything. I'm a bit disappointed that they haven't put a grease nipple probably there for the main pivot, really. I can't see any way of lubricating it, but because there will be like a bush in there, I presume, or something. Well, I hope there would be a bush. So
these batteries...
Yeah, the ones I'm replacing them with are exactly the same, MK, very good, made in USA.
Yeah.
Very, very good batteries. They see, I mean, these, I'll be honest with you, this is 7 years old now, this machine. I bought it with 18 miles on. And it had been on charge all its life, and I think, as far as I'm aware, that they are the original batteries. And I've used it for 18 months, thinking, oh, you know, they're probably not quite as good as they could be, sort of thing, but it's done another 18 months out of it, sort of thing, and now it's, with the cold weather, it's got to the point where it won't go very far now, so it's not good enough for metal detecting.
Batteries are out. Batteries are very heavy. They're 25 kilograms each. I managed to get one out with my fingers, but this one, John had to put 2 bolts in it so as I could lift it off the bolts to get some leverage on it. But there's another bit of a problem. Well,
it isn't a problem at all, but we have found that the back wheels are actually loose on the drive motor shafts, which means that the bolt down the middle has worked loose. Probably there's no thread lock and no locking washers or anything, you see. Now that can't be left like that. It's not moving the motor shaft. If you look down there, the motor shaft's not moving at all. It's the actual hub that's moving on the actual motor shaft.
It's not.
Which means that that eventually that'll strip the splines off the motor shaft and the hub as well, or one or the other. And you lose your drive altogether. So that's another job we've got to do. We've got to tighten those up and put some copper grease or something on the splines to stop any fretting between them, and then that'll be as good as new then, that will. But it's a good job we noticed and did the batteries, otherwise we wouldn't have noticed that, you see. I'd have just carried on using it. So
New batteries are safely in. That was really hard because there's no room to lift them. You can't get your fingers in, and the 25 kilograms each. That was the hardest, most awkward thing I think I've ever done.
Very tricky, very tricky. You have to put them in at a very slight angle to start with as well, otherwise they don't really want to go in. I think it's because they're quite tight, and it's got these cable ties here on the wiring. So, and at the bottom of the battery, there's a
if you look at the bottom, there's a lip.
There's a lug on the sides, you see. So it makes them very tight.
Really, really tight. So yeah,
but
they're in.
Wendy has managed it. I haven't managed it.
No, you haven't. I did it. I need to lie down now.
Yeah.
We've got the wheel off. John thought it was splines, but it's not. It's actually a woodruff key, which is a little bit worn.
Yeah, if you look at that, there's some fretting, and there's a bit of a step in it, sort of thing, on both sides where it's been moving, and a bit of a silly idea, really. The washers that hold the hub assembly on. They're very thin washers, and they've doubled up with them because they're so thin, and they've bent. So when they bend, it makes the nut loose, and then the whole thing starts to fret. What that really should have had, it should have had probably slightly thicker than that, and a proper single. Like thrust washer sort of thing that should have been on the outside of it, really, and also it has got nylocks on, and I'm going to replace the nylocks. I've found some new nylocks there that haven't been used, you see, because the other ones aren't gripping very well now. So I'll turn these washers round. I haven't got any that are thicker, that are exactly the right size, because it's got to be the right OD and the right ID, you see. So these are going to have to do, but I'll turn them back round and let them sort of straighten themselves up a bit when you tighten it, and obviously keep an eye on this situation, because this will always go wrong, because these washers aren't really suitable for the job, to be honest. But anyway,
right, we're just reversing now what we did in the beginning. It's taken us a bit longer than we planned because we've had all four wheels off. We've cleaned them, we've greased them all. We
haven't cleaned the wheels, we've cleaned the shafts.
No, we've not cleaned the wheels, we've cleaned the shafts. Put copper grease on everything. New nuts. So
you just got to get the seat back on. To be honest, lifting the batteries out and the seat is the hardest bit, really, because the seat's quite heavy.
Worst bit with the seat is these are all loose.
The turrets on there, they're loose. They obviously fit different seats, you see. Lots of different types of seats. Ones that lift, ones that tilt. And there's obviously a whole array of mountings for the seat, so they have different turrets, and so that's why they don't weld it. You see, they've got loose turrets. But
you've got to lift it on cleanly because these are sticking out. So what's going to happen?
You can take them out if you want.
Well, yeah, that's another contract, though, isn't it? So they've got to. That's where the turrets sit, there and there. Right, it's all done. We've checked the lights, indicators, and it works and everything. So yeah,
team effort. There we go.